There's Nina Nesbitt and Loyal to Me. So it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. On a story to tell today, I've got Jon Williams, who's from Graft for Growth, which is a company which does expeditions and going out to Transylvania, of all places. We'll ask him later on about why he chose there and lots of other things as well. If you have any questions for Jon, studio@radiobath.com, or you can text your message to Bath, followed by your message to 80011. We'll be talking to Jon very, very shortly. The amount of footballers or football teams that have now taken that song. Now, why have I played it? I've played it because I have the lovely Jon Williams. Good morning, Jon.
Good morning, Richard.
I've got Jon. Now, I know Jon from football, so we play every Friday afternoon up at John of Gaunt School in Vegas, as it's yokily known. and yeah, I was chatting to him last week, and I thought, do you know, it'd be great to get him on. So yeah, today on A Story to Tell, we have, are you ready for this, Jon? Entrepreneur. How does that sound?
Well, it sounds quite impressive, actually. I just hope the interview will support it.
Oh, we'll give it a go. So he's in to tell us about his exciting new project of exploring Transylvania and how he got to where he is today. So first of all, Jon, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, all well.
Yeah, very good. So tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Well, just an ordinary guy, PE teacher, trained in the University of Exeter, English, PE and outdoor education, which links to this interview. But so I've been teaching for most of my life, and then when I was about 49, I stopped and started a business and a social enterprise. Okay, where did you teach? We're going to talk about teaching later, but where did you teach? Well, I've taught in Ewley, Dursley. I've taught in Surrey, in Ashcombe School in Dorking, Surrey, and taught in Bideford School, North Devon. Taught in Australia, in the Atherton Tablelands, and more recently at St Lawrence School in Bradford-on-Avon. The wonderful St Lawrence School. Yeah, it is. I had a number of people messaging when they saw that you were on, going, "Oh, I recognise him. He was my PE teacher." Yeah, people either get enthusiastic or just go white at the thought of a PE teacher sometimes, don't they? Do you know what? I was chatting to my daughter earlier on, and we were talking about the fact that PE teachers must be fit because they're doing PE all the time. Yeah. And then she went, "Oh, actually," and she was of school age, she went, "Actually, most of the time they just stand around. Yeah. They don't do anything." Is that fair? Well, there is an aspect of that, but you do have to keep moving from one place to another, which is, say, in some desk jobs you stay stationary, but you have to go up to the fields and come back to the fields. And every so often, certainly if you're somebody who likes to demonstrate, because it does save 1,000 words, especially in the gymnasium, you have to sort of bring it off once a year. It can be a bit scary. You never know what's going to happen. That pressure moment, that pressure moment. Yeah. Okay, so you're here today to tell us about the new launch of your company. Tell us about that. Well, the company itself, Graft for Growth, has been going for a fair few years, but we're incorporating it now, incorporating within it the Transylvania Adventure Company, because I've been working a lot with charities abroad, and they need to be self-sustaining. So we've tried a number of different ways to achieve that, and certainly during COVID, when a lot of the other projects were stopping, we thought, well, how can we make this particular area or particular charity a self-sustaining charity? Because they were doing great work with those with disability. Some fantastic work. They're in Brasov, north of Bucharest, and I've been working with them for a while and thinking, well, they don't have any land, they don't have any money. What have they got? Well, they're in a fantastic area. You know, literally, the Brasov area had an article by The Guardian recently saying it's the new Yellowstone Park of Europe, because it's just such a wild place. So we thought, well, okay, let's take their talents. They got a great team, young people, and their English is fantastic as well. So let's see what we can do, because they all like cycling, they all like walking. Let's put this together. Yeah. And so that's Transylvania, is it? So, yeah. Because
everybody, when they think about Transylvania, thinks of vampires, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So have you come across any vampires on your travels there so far?
Well, not so far, okay. But we do, that particular area does have a lot of sort of related vampire history. So it's really to do with Vlad the Impaler. That's where it all came from. And Bram Stoker, who is the English author, then turns it into the vampire story. But but pretty equally scary, was Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
And he was he resided in Sigiswara, which is one of the places we visit, which is like a UNESCO protected town, and also he has a castle near Brasov, which is also one of the areas where we'll go to. So there's quite a lot of history there related in part to Dracula himself, or the what started the story.
Amazing. And you've got a launch night coming up, I believe.
Yeah, we've got a launch night Thursday, 1st of February, 7:30 at the Old Dairy in Melcombe Road in Bath. So,
Bath.
Yeah. And fizzy and, nibbles provided.
Okay, so if somebody came along to that launch night, what's the purpose of it?
Well, we've got some, we got films, we got pictures, we got explanations of the routes. We might have an explanation about where the money's going to, because it's a social enterprise, not strictly a sort of profit-focused business. And we'll be looking at the different areas and history of the places that we'll be visiting.
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about the actual individual trips a bit later on. This isn't, so I'm just trying to get the journey here. So you were teaching for, how many years did you teach for?
Well, I stopped at 49 when I was 49 years old. Stopped full time.
Stopped full time, and you're a couple of years older than that now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We'll talk about that later as well. What did you do straight after teaching then?
Well, when I finished the full-time teaching, and it was a decision between my wife Penny and myself, because I really did want to do the social enterprise side, but I realised also that wouldn't support us as a family. So I had to also, or we had to, begin like what we decided would be a property business. So we borrowed a ridiculous amount of money.
Can you say how much?
About £1 million.
About £1 million. Okay.
Yeah, okay, because you could do that if you, in those days, you could remortgage your property, split it up into packages, pop small packages on as deposits on houses, and borrow and have a mortgage against them, which is also borrowing, of course.
Yeah.
So I didn't have £1 million myself. So by splitting up small packages, I could then borrow against that. Yeah.
Wow. And how did that company go?
Well, we didn't actually. We just did it. We didn't actually start it as a company. No, retrospectively, I wish I had done for various reasons. But we did it under sort of Jon and Penny Williams, really. And so we invested in. We tried to split the risk. So we invested in a number of places. So the UK, but I thought that the growth had finished in the UK, but it was safe. And we then went to Spain, Croatia, and also Hungary.
Okay.
And so that was a wide portfolio, which I'm now trying to shrink and trying to make life a little bit more negotiable, really.
So you've still got some of these properties then?
Yeah, I have, but I'm selling them off now because enough's enough.
Yeah, enough's enough. And you can then, of course, live a life of luxury and on all the profits that there's been.
Well, I'm not... more focus on what you think is really worthwhile.
Do you know what? It's very good. Yeah, because money doesn't give you anything.
No, it's not the only currency.
No. There's a great phrase which I once heard, which is, money doesn't make you happy, it just makes life easier.
Yeah.
And I still go by that. Yeah. Okay, so you're at school and used to run quite a lot of the expeditions yourselves, didn't you, for the sixth formers and stuff?
Yes. Well, I have to go back a few years, if you don't mind. I go back to 1989, where the Berlin Wall came down and communism started to collapse, and the countries started to domino. So we had the Yugoslavia, and you had the Czech Republic, and also Germany. And so all these previously communist countries were then throwing off those sort of shackles, as they'd call them. Yeah. And suddenly they opened up, and we would get pictures on the news about what some of the lives were like, in the orphanage in particular. I don't know whether you can remember that.
I do, actually.
Some awful pictures in the orphanages. And so I was at that time teaching in Dorking, Surrey, and a group of guys came up to me and said, John, we'd like to ask you, would you mind driving a relief truck to Romania? Okay, I said, because he said, well, we're from Dorking Churches, and we've got all these supplies. We've got surgical equipment, blankets, survival stuff, packages of food for some of the villages, and all sorts of stuff to help people get through a really difficult time. But they had no one to drive it.
Right.
So I said, how far is that? How long is it going to take? Well, I said, it's about 100 hours driving in the truck. How big's the truck? It's 7.5 tonner. Okay, wow. But I could, So I said, well, okay, I'll just do it the once. Okay, it sounds big commitment. So I did it that particular time, and you just every so often you have an experience in life that changes you, and that changed me. What I saw was had such an impact. The poverty levels I saw people in blizzards at 4 o'clock in the morning queuing for bread for the shop to open at 9 o'clock. I went into hospitals and to try and solve the problem of overcrowding, had 2 in a bed. Can you imagine how horrendous that would have been? And some of the orphanages that I went to, there's excrement all over the floor, and they were just running wild, and there was no direction, there was no care for them, and it was just awful. So but I was a teacher, so I couldn't really do anything about it. But I thought, I'm teaching a state school, but these youngsters, they could learn a lot if we did some positive project abroad. So we launched our first project, and I had a whole load of friends. One was in Thames Television, an editor, and one was a good mechanic, and a number of people who were good drivers and confident. So we got 2 lorries together in a minibus, and we asked the youngsters who would like to come along. We'll do a relief trip with all these 2 lorries. Yeah. And somehow the head teacher trusted me to do this. I can't believe it. When I think back, how did he said, John, I've got only one proviso. The governor said you've got to take a nurse. So I put an advert in the local hospital. Anybody want to come along? We've got 2 nurses, and they came along. They were brilliant. Yeah. And they came on subsequent trips. So we did this first trip, and the girls slept on all the mattresses and all the blankets we were keeping in one lorry, and the boys slept in the other lorry in the evening, because there's no mobile phones. You couldn't book ahead on booking.com. It was just completely, let's see what happens.
The internet didn't exist.
Exactly. And so it was quite scary, because if you lost contact with another lorry, you just had road maps in front of you, really. So anyway, that trip worked really well, and so from then on, really, it was just trying to manage the numbers. In the difference, I went from the Ashcombe, and then from Ashcombe School I went to St Lawrence, and then kick-started it there again. Yeah,
and you did loads and loads of expeditions like that, and eventually that's brought you round to the company that you're now doing?
Yeah, that's right. So it started off with relief trucks, then we started doing survival houses, then we went to small farms, because as we progressed, we realised, well, you can't, just driving a relief truck out and handing out goods is not sustainable. Yeah. So the focus is to find the people that really need the support, and to help them sustain themselves. So if we, for instance, went and did a survival house, we'd put a package of support around that particular family to help them get their kids to school, help them be able to buy clothes, and keep them in the education system so they could then, later on they could get further training. And when with the smaller farms, it could help feed the community, and then continue when we'd gone.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Well, we're going to talk more about the actual trips coming up very, very shortly. Yeah. Now, you've chosen the next track, haven't you? So this is the Lily Allen track.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, why have you chosen this track then, John?
Yeah, well, I'm not greatly into music, but I really focus on lyrics. And I don't know much about Lily Allen, but I know she's very popular. But I listened to this particular track and thought it sort of reflects a sort of a moral maze that some of the youngsters are going through, and it reflected a person that thinking, what's my life really all about, and not knowing, and it's just, and so the lyrics caught me. I thought they're very, very clever.
And here is The Fear by Lily Allen.
I wanna be rich and I want lots of money. I don't care about clever, I don't care about funny. I want loads of clothes and I want loads of diamonds. I heard people die while they're trying to find them. And I'll take my clothes off and it will be shameless, 'cause everyone knows that's how you get famous.
Don't you go walking out that door. No, 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 baby. Baby, don't criticize.
Haven't heard that song for years. It's criticised by Alexander O'Neill from 1987 here on Radio Bath. I kind of gone into really smashy and nicey mode there, John. It's kind of a bit weird for me. I was watching a bit of Smashy and Nicey. For those that don't know, I mentioned this the other day about Smashy and Nicey. This was Harry Enfield and Paul Whitehouse, I believe, in the early 90s that did kind of the classic, hey, charity and all of that for DJ stuff. So yeah, I did a little bit of it with Gerard before when we tried to hit the lyrics. It's very old classic radio stuff. But there we go. Anyway, we're back with Jon Williams. So he is the leader of Graft for Growth. They're just about to have a launch day. And we're going to listen or talk now much more about the actual trips themselves. Okay, so John, just remind us very quickly, if anybody is interested, what's the website?
It's graftforgrowth.co.uk, and the 4 is a number 4.
And the 4 is a number 4, so graftforgrowth.co.uk. Now, you have 3 mission statements on your website. The first one is vision, so tell us about that.
Yeah, well, so our ambition really is to make those that are destitute and living in these marginalised communities and enable them to transform their lives in the future if we give them training and work opportunities, which is why we call it sort of like Graft for Growth, enabling them to be able to work and find a way out of absolute poverty.
Okay, so these are the people that help run the trips, is it?
No, these are the people we go over and we help. Okay, so what would happen is that a charity in Romania or a charity in the UK working with a charity in Romania would say to us, can you help this particular project? Can you bring teams of people over? And then I would look at it and assess it and think, well, if they got a really good inspirational and mostly predominantly inspirational Christian leader that's trying to do some great stuff in their community, I might think to myself, well, is that going to really inspire my students? Is that going to be good for them in terms of their personal development as well? And if I think yes, it would be, then we take the project on. And we go and support those in the difficult situations with either sanctuary houses and education, or build them small farms, or but always supporting the educational side.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get my head around this. So we have the trips, which we'll talk about shortly, which is the walking and the cycling.
Yeah.
How does that kind of match in with what you've just been describing there then?
Yes, okay, so I'm working with a group that call themselves Hope Without Limits, that work with people with disability in the Brasov area. They are very short of resources in order to expand what they do in terms of supporting people with equipment, therapy sessions, community events for those that are disabled. You've got to understand that if you're disabled in Romania, people think it's sort of like a curse. It's a bit of a medieval thing.
Okay.
Cross themselves as they pass you in the street and so on. So imagine what that does to your self-esteem. So these guys hide themselves away. So this particular charity is trying to draw them out, give them a sense of community, give them self-esteem. And so what we're trying to do is create a business that enables them to fund what they do.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. And then your second part is mission. So that's one of your mission statements is mission.
Yeah.
So what's that one then?
Well, it's the same thing, to develop self-reliance and independence through helping people towards, through education, housing, work, and job opportunities. So in this particular case, for the Transylvanian Adventure Company, we are hoping to employ some of those with disability.
Okay.
But through employing those people that work with them, they're going to very much introduce all aspects of lifestyle where they can become self-reliant, those people with disabilities.
Okay, amazing. And the last one is values.
Yeah. Well, we all have the things that motivate you. I'm a Christian myself, and as a principle, we believe everybody is equal in God's sight.
Okay.
And so giving people independence develops their self-value and their human dignity, and that's what we're trying to do. So, there's the what we call the Micah mandate, which is, a book in the Old Testament, and that says, what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And now we all have our own motivational aspects, but that's one that motivates me to do what I do.
Okay, and kind of I look at that. So I'm not religious. I grew up in a Catholic family, but I decided that it wasn't for me. But I'm listening to that, and in my head, I replace God with humans. So I kind of have those same values, but just not necessarily in a religious way. Just simply be kind to people is my basic theory in life. And other people will be kind to you.
Yes, that's fair enough. But I look around, I read the newspapers, I look at the news, and I think to myself, human nature, I don't think it's doing too well at the moment.
No,
and we said we wouldn't get political, so
no.
I won't. But but what I see in the work that I do, and I hope it challenges people that come with me. I see people involved in mafia activity, dangerous people having lives turned around, and talking to our students about that situation and what's happened, and people not being able to believe it. I see, and so it's quite striking when you see complete life turnarounds. And I had an interesting situation where I think it was a school, Prior Park School. One of the students asked one of my Christian leaders, and they said, well, Valley, tell me, if you could change one thing in Romania to make it better, what would you change? And without really thinking about it much, the guy says, I would change the human heart.
Wow.
And that stunned the group, but it really made them think. And I don't see how you can change communities very easily with lots and lots of money and lots of resources. You have to change their heart. And there are different ways of doing it, but this is the one that I have found has worked the best.
Well, one thing that I think will be really, hopefully, encouraging for you is last week I had Mark Jones, who was a hypnotherapist, come in, and loved him. He's a brilliant guy, and really enjoyed chatting to him. And I was explaining to him how much impact he's had on me, and how much, therefore, I've taken on. So I train a lot of the new dance teachers to be dance teachers, and they then teach other people to dance. So his touch of me, and I'll say that in an appropriate way, I then help all those other people who then help all those other people. So it can be sometimes quite a small thing that starts off and ends up having a massive impact, and hopefully that's the type of thing that you are doing as well. Now, the trips that people can go on, so you've got a number of different trips people can take to Transylvania. What type of trips are there?
Yes, well, I mean, on the website, there are sort of three. There's the walk, the cycle, and there's the social work trips. So I'm just focusing today, because it's the adventure company, on the walking and the cycling. Okay. So we've got this team of people who live in this mountain area Brasov. Pointe Brasov is a ski area too. And in that area, you've got bears, you've got lynx, you've got all sorts of. They've even got buffalo now, apparently, and wolves and whatever. It's quite a wild country. And so we've got this team of people that love walking, cycling. So we've developed these a number of different trips. The main one for people in this country would be you go over for 8 days. 2 days are flying there and back, and so you've got 6 days in the middle where you do a small circuit around from Brasov to visit some of the mountains and also the Saxon towns and villages, and on the quiet roads. So that was the quiet roads would be for the cycling. For the walking also, similar, but the distances obviously aren't so far. But one of the advantages we have is we've got a number of Land Rovers, so we can drive the group to the top of a mountain without them doing all the trudging all the way up, and then spend some of the walking time along the top there.
Okay.
And with the beautiful views, of which there are many. It's a pretty vast forested country. And it's got some, the Carpathian Mountains are incredible. So we've loved doing it. It's been great fun. And so, I can guarantee that the scenery will be stunning. And those people interested in bird life, wildlife, will be interested as well. I can't guarantee it, and I hope you won't come across a bear when we're walking, but they're pretty nervous, actually, the bears.
Have you come across a bear whilst walking out there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but it wasn't dangerous. The bear wasn't bothered about me, and
Right.
stayed fairly, just carried on eating with a bear cub by the side, and I just made sure I wasn't getting anywhere too near it. But what you can do, and what I've done a number of times, is you go to hides, and you pay the forester who's got an area where he puts food around on a regular basis, and the idea is to keep the bears away from the towns. So
Okay.
keep them up and in the mountains, and then you pay to go and sit in a hide in the safety of the hide,
Right.
and watch them. And literally, it's been amazing seeing the bears and the mums and the little cubs running around. And but to give you an idea of how the bears react if they hear a human, I mean, even the click of a camera would get them to scarper.
Right.
So you had to be very, very quiet. So the idea of meeting a bear isn't quite so nerve-wracking when you know that scenario. But yeah.
Now I'm thinking about the fact that I'm going to go on a holiday in the next few months, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm quite tired, so therefore chances are I'm going to go somewhere quite warm and sit by a swimming pool and do not a lot. Going on a cycling or a walking holiday, I'm guessing is quite tiring. So do you need to be a certain fitness to do it?
Okay. Well, we all need a sense of adventure, don't we, to get to enliven ourselves, and exercise does actually give you more energy. But no, we're quite realistic in the people that we are aiming at, and it's moderate. Okay. So moderate, because I'm in my 60s, I can walk it. I can do the walks quite easily. I can do the cycles reasonably well, and complete them all. So no. To some extent, to be honest, we are a bit aiming at the silver generation.
Are you?
We've got a bit of time.
Yeah.
A bit of time and a bit of money.
Yeah.
But we also can offer these sort of quick breaks for people who are maybe cash rich, time poor. Pop over there for a day or two, or maybe 3 days walking.
Okay.
Thursday evening, come back on a Sunday or something like that. So
Sounds
we can
interesting.
do that. Yeah.
I might try and do one myself. I'm in my 50th year now, so see, I'm looking to do some different things. You never know, I might be
well, I'll hold you to
joining.
that.
I'm glad I said. I'm already committed to doing a skydive this year, providing I can get medically passed on it.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So how much the typical? So you say for 8 days, how much would one of those cost? Because that's what people want to know as well.
Yes. Well, there's two aspects. There's how much it costs and what do you get for it. So let's take the cycling. It's more expensive than the walking. Cycling for the 8 days is £1,200.
Okay.
And the walking is 11. So, but what you get for that is you don't get your flight. You have to get out there. But the flights, if you book them in advance, are not too bad. And but you get your hotels, or a good level pension. If it's right out in the country, you get all your food. You get and during the midday you get fed as well. If you're on a cycle or a walk, we have snacks that we can give you. So and the bikes are provided.
I was going to ask that. Presumably, you don't need to carry a bike on your back on the plane.
No, I mean no. We've invested in 17 Merida hardtail bikes, so they got suspension on the front. Okay. And they're about £1,000 each. So we got £17,000 worth of bicycles, and we got some 3 electric bikes, cube electric bikes, which make life a lot easier. I can tell you, we all gave it a try and thought, this is too easy. Give me a bike. But if a couple want to do it, and one of the couples isn't interested in the cycling so much, or not competent or confident, they can use one of the electric bikes.
Sounds good. And walking, of course, you don't need any equipment apart from a good pair of walking boots.
Yeah, well, we would give an equipment list, and to be reasonable. You don't want, if you're going to get a waterproof, make sure it's not showerproof, But you don't need to have high quality stuff. You just need to have the right equipment to do what you're going to do.
Fabulous. Now, if somebody's interested, remind us of the website again.
Graph for Growth. With the 4 is the number 4. graphforgrowth.co.uk.
Fabulous. And when's the launch date again? We're going to carry on talking, John, by the way.
Thursday, the 1st of Feb, 7:30 at the Old Dairy, Melcombe Road in Bath.
Amazing. Time for more music.
I got my first real 6-string, bought it at the 5 and dime, played it till my fingers bled. Was the summer of 69.
Now, just before the news, we're going to have a little chat about a good friend of mine. I know him via dancing. I know him as Mike Edwards. Everybody else will know him as Eddie the Eagle, though. I play golf with him very regularly. He's a really nice chap. He's actually very, very normal, which is quite nice as well. But he stars on Dancing on Ice this weekend, which just starts, and they're doing their press day today. And I was just chatting with John here. We also have a work experience chap called Kieran in. Good morning, Kieran.
Good morning.
Oh, come closer to the microphone.
That's good.
Yeah. Hang on a sec. There we go. Try again.
Hello.
There we go. Helps if I turn your microphone on. I'm interested to think what you think of Mike. So, John, tell me what you think. What's your memories?
Well, you stated that he's just an ordinary guy. Well, he's not, is he?
Wow.
He's a guy with a real sense of adventure, I would say, and he's certainly got some guts. I think the picture I have of him is on his skis, on a corrugated iron roof, on a shed, sort of practicing, and I'm thinking, that's not really the sort of preparation you need. He must have done more than that, but I'm thinking this guy's really got some, got some guts.
He does have a lot of guts, and he's annoyingly good at golf as well. Now, Kieran, you weren't born. I can make this guesstimation when he was in Calgary in 1988. So, what's your memory of, or what's your thoughts of Eddie or Mike?
I came to know of him through the film.
Okay.
But my dad had mentioned him at some point, but it sort of left my mind. And then the film comes out, and I go, oh, I remember having a conversation about him, and then sort of did actually become quite interested in him around that time, because he's just his attitude towards everything is just full throttle, give it everything you got.
Yeah, he does. Now, I've got a very interesting picture from playing golf. We played up near his house near Stroud. There were cows on the golf course, and they wouldn't move. It's called Mitchelston or something like that. And they wouldn't move. And I have a video of Mike hitting this golf ball over the cow. Thankfully, he connected correctly with it. But he actually hit his driver over the cows. But,
so what I'd like to know is how he gets he's obviously a guy that needs a thrill, isn't he? He's a wholehearted guy that needs a thrill. What does he do now after all that to get the same sort of to satisfy this same need for thrill?
Do you know, most of the time he comes dancing. So he comes out dancing at our
You're just
venues.
Promoting a business, really, aren't you?
I'm not at all, no, but he does come along quite a lot. He's one of our crew members, and he helps out all the beginners. So
that's great.
He's fabulous. He's a really nice guy. So do vote for him. That's Eddie the Eagle, known as Mike Edwards, or the other way round, on Dancing on Ice, which starts this weekend. Please do vote for him. Now, I've had an email in from Jeff. He's saying that he's going to a concert this evening in Bath. 2 well-known acoustic guitarists, Tommy Emmanuel and Molly Tuttle. It's kind of bluegrass track. So I'm going to play one of those tracks for you now. There's Stand By Me and Benny King. It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. So today on A Story to Tell, for those that are joining us for the second hour, I've got the lovely Jon Williams. He's here from Graft for Growth. And you've got a launch night coming up, John. Remind us about that.
Yes, the Old Dairy in Melcombe Road, Bath. It's on Thursday. It's the 1st of Feb, 7:30. We offer sparkling wine and also some nibbles, so come along for an interesting evening where we can show you some videos and some pictures, explain our different routes, and you can ask any questions you want about what goes on the trips.
And this is the trips to Transylvania.
The trips to Transylvania, people think it doesn't exist, actually, but it is actually. It's not just in the book, it actually exists. It's one of the nicer parts of Romania, yeah.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said Romania then, because I was going back in my mind going, where is it again? Because lots of people won't even know where Romania is.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But there we go. You've also, as well as the stuff abroad, you've done stuff locally as well, haven't you? Tell us about what you did last year.
Yes, well, we did the 100-mile cycle from coast to coast as a fundraiser. Actually, I didn't do it for G4G projects. I did it for another project housing homeless young girls in the Bath area. So we did from Ilfracombe to Plymouth in one day. It's 100 miles, and it's quite a challenge.
That is.
And but I've done it a number of times. In fairness, I learnt the whole route and the way of doing it through with Beach and Cliff School, because they do it as a regular challenge, and then I took it on to do it separately with adults as well. And so. In the past, I've done quite a lot of projects with the local schools, such in terms of Bath area, would be Prior Park, Beach and Cliff, and we've paused really because of COVID and issues with flights afterwards. But still, I'm thinking about getting back into offering some of those trips for the sixth formers in some of those schools or the local schools.
And if any of the schools are listening, how would they get in contact with you to kind of arrange that?
I think that some of them have got in contact, but you've got to get the right project for them, you see. So I'm working on getting the right project at the right time. So we can't just go and trot them out every single year. But some of them have been in contact with me anyway. So I've got the contact numbers, and I can tell them when I'm ready.
So watch this space. Obviously, you're very busy with your current project at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's my focal point at the moment, yeah.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned about homelessness for girls project.
Yes, yeah.
Tell us about that and why you chose that project.
Well, it's a project that is run by the church that I go to, where a number of people have secretly bought two houses and offered it to a group in order to take girls who have been in care all their lives and coming out after 18 and got nowhere to actually go. Rather than make them homeless, they put them in a house and they put some support around them. That's sort of counselling support and also support in terms of finance support, and try and get them jobs. And then hopefully after a couple of years they'll be self-sustaining themselves and go out and rent a place and be independent. That's the idea.
And these trips that you've then done have then helped support the funding of that, I'm guessing. Yeah, well,
that particular cycle, I chose that particular project.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you've done lots of stuff for charity over the years, I'm guessing, by the sound of it.
Yeah, I work with charities. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What makes you choose a particular charity?
Well, if they're doing what initially. I was going to remain doing things on my own and thinking, no, I need more backup. I need people that are coming out here more often. And I need people to be able to support the project when I finished. So, so I've worked with Partnership for Growth. People Against Poverty, I'd had a great time working with them.
Tell us about them.
People Against Poverty, well, they're a local charity initiated by Bill and Val Huxley. And they were supporting some projects in Yash, and we had our main one actually in a small village called Unchest, which I can't even find on the Google Maps actually. But we spent a lot of time there with a number of schools, building at what we called a micro farm.
Right.
Because some of the villages they can be defined as like places without hope. They got no food, they got no money. They this whole village of 100 families had no tractor. It's a farming village.
And no tractor?
No tractor. Yeah, right. That's right. So we created this sort of community farm and got hold of the money for a tractor and a trailer and some, other equipment that you need, the plows and, discers and things like that. And then the schools would come and they would build, say, a small building for pigs or a small building for chickens, or even start working on the the farm manager's house, and we built a mill as well. I think Pryor Park built a mill so they could mill, so the locals could bring their corn to the mill and have it milled rather than pay a lot of money by shipping it elsewhere. So that was a good project with People Against Poverty. We had a lot of good times together. Yeah,
and I'll be honest, I've known you from football, as I've said very early on, but we haven't really chatted that much. When you play football, we don't really talk that much.
No.
And I'm finding out lots and lots about you today, which is really fascinating for me. And I think the world needs more Johns.
Well, I don't know about that, but you have to realise what a pleasure it is to be able to work with young people who are really enthusiastic. Young people want to make a difference to the world, a positive difference. And it's very enlivening working with them. They raise all the money. I organise the trip. They raise all the money. Yeah. They do all the work. I just regard myself as a facilitator, a cog in the wheel.
Yeah. So you're the one that kind of makes it possible. But
makes it possible.
They do all the hard work.
Doesn't make it happen, but makes it possible.
Are you theoretically then the responsible one?
Well, yeah, I don't like responsibility, Richard, but, you have to take it on, don't you? You get it thrust upon you,
Absolutely, you do get it thrust upon you. But, well, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about teaching when we come back after this.
This is the night. My soul it did decide. And I need you to.
Now, I was watching The Voice the other week, and Ray, who's this artist, was Worth It. She was on there, and the difference between her and the contestants was literally professional to amateur, and she was incredible. And I've not heard that track before. Really like that track as well. So that's Worth It by Ray here on Radio Bath. Richard Beauvoisin here until midday. Today I've got Jon Williams. He's from Graft for Growth. We're going to talk about your teaching history now, John. Yeah, which is kind of how you base everything, I'm guessing, because all the things that you do are still kind of teaching people how to do stuff. Would that be fair?
Yes, I think partly my main focus was on students, really, when I first started all this social enterprise work, and that's because teaching-wise you realise how formative it can be. So and it was what I was used to. I would like to think part of what my skill set is to work with certainly the older students, and so yeah, it did link very much.
Yeah. Now, how long were you teaching for then?
Oh gosh, that's
full time.
Full time. Well, I think I was teaching about 27 years full time.
Quite a while, and I'm guessing in that time it must have changed somewhat.
Yes, it did. Yes, yes. From my perspective, without going into too much detail, there was a lot more focus on the examinations and the results because of the Ofsted and publicising the academic achievements of schools, and therefore, understandably, the focus seemed to switch there. So, when I was first employed, there was a lot more going on beyond the classroom, and so I felt there was it was difficult for teachers for head teachers to release students and teachers to go on trips abroad during the term time. Ski trips, adventure trips, or even geography field trips. Yeah, really, to be honest. So it did change. Yeah, it did change.
Yeah, and it must be very difficult as a teacher. I am a teacher myself, a dance teacher, and I run my own company, so I make my own rules. Mm-hmm. And I find that it's enlivening for me because I can kind of go, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go and do it. Mm-hmm. How did you feel as a teacher? So you're an outdoor teacher, really, aren't you, to a large degree?
Yeah.
And kind of having those restrictions.
Well, if you knew me better, you realise that I don't work well under restrictions. But there was, in many ways, there was enough freedom within the job to be able to initiate certain things that you wanted to see happen. And so, so for instance, we ran these Romania projects. I was allowed to do those, but more and more in my own time, and we're allowed to to set up inter-house competitions and just things that you felt and have sports days and go on and certain big events. That was great to give kids memories, character building stuff, and a thrill and adventure, and get buy-in for the school as well.
Now, every single person has a memory of that teacher at school that was either instrumental in kind of making you not want to do something or want to do something. So I go back to immediately in my head, and we've all been to school. We all have that commonality between us. We've all been to school, and I have that person in my head that actually was an incredibly strict teacher, but made me love maths. They really did. Which way do you reckon you would have been? Do you think you have that memorable teacher yourself, first of all?
Do I have the memorable... I have memorable teachers, I would say. Yeah, I wouldn't say there was one single teacher that turned my life around, but I had a number that really got me interested in different sports or different subjects, in particular English. I had some really good English teachers that enthralled me with some of the lessons that we had, yeah.
And why did you get into teaching yourself in the first place, then?
Well, I was weighing up, I think at the time, forestry and teaching outdoor stuff, because I was just a bit hyperactive, and that's where my skill set was. Sport, and if there was a sport, I would try and play it and do whatever level, not necessarily a high level, but I just enjoyed it, and it's been fun sort of introducing sport to youngsters and seeing them get a thrill, because I think sport's very important, especially in later life.
Absolutely. We're our next section is going to be talking all about sport, which I can't wait to do. So you did all the teaching for 27 years. Then what made you kind of not carry on?
Well, there's a time when you think, I think I don't want to keep repeating the same year and doing the same old stuff. And I thought somebody younger could do the job as well or better than me in terms of the PE job. And I really wanted not to miss an opportunity of doing something more exciting, not necessarily more exciting, but something exciting for me at the time, which was starting up the business, starting up the social enterprise. So we took the risk, really, and jumped off the cliff.
So from Beecham Cliff to a different cliff.
Well,
there we go. Teaching it is kind of one of the weird things I always think about is I've had people quote back to me something that I've said to them 10 years ago. And for me, it's just a passing comment. And for them, it's kind of like means quite a lot to them. How do you feel? Because inevitably in the local area, you will come across people that were your students. How do you feel when somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, Mr. Williams, how are you?" And then you go, "Hi, who are you?"
Well, I get quite a lot at the moment, and the people that come up and say hello to me, they've often got a beard and no hair, and I'm thinking, I don't quite recognise you from when I was teaching you. Going back to what you say about you may have a certain comment that might hold it. It scares me, that does, really. If I said the wrong thing, because one does say things flippantly, but only as you get older do you realise that some of these things stick. So I really do. If anyone's listened that I've said the wrong thing to you, I do apologise, and I just hope I've been more in helping self-esteem rather than demolishing it.
It's always a really difficult one. I don't think as a teacher you ever realise quite how much you mean to people, because people hold you in such high esteem, and that's the main thing.
Rightly or wrongly.
Indeed so. Well, we're going to have another little break for some music. When we come back, we are going to talk about all the different sports that you've played, and we're going to talk football, which is how I know Jon. Haven't heard that song in ages. Norwegian Wood, in brackets, The Bird Has Flown by the Beatles. Now we're back with Jon. Jon, very quickly remind us of the website again.
Graph for Growth. 4 is with a number 4, not the word. .co.uk.
And this is all about getting some trips out to Transylvania.
Transylvania, that's right.
Doing walking or cycling. Now we're going to talk about sports. You mentioned doing sports during your PE days at school. One of the main sports I know you for is football, because we play football every Friday at John of Gaunt School. They've very kindly let us play there. What's your philosophy on football? How do you think it should be played?
Well, I think it should be played at all ages, at different levels, to be honest, because it's all about keeping healthy and enjoying company, releasing pressure from what's been going on in the week before, or what's going on in your life, and sort of entering into a world that is that thinks that scoring a goal is the most important thing in 1 hour.
Or defending the goal.
Or defending the goal,
Yeah.
which is I often end up doing these days. That's right. So it's not so... I mean, okay, so I'm nominally a Liverpool supporter because I like Klopp and I love the way that they all close down and the energy and the excitement of it. It's great to see, you know, teams play exciting football, but most of us don't play at that level, do we?
Not so much.
Yeah.
No. No. I mean, but football has changed. If you look back at 1970s football, they are, first of all, horrific pitches. They're like cow fields. They really are.
Yep.
And like somebody would go into the back of somebody else and hack them over, and the referee would go, "Just get up, get on with it." Doesn't happen these days like that.
No. Well, I think fortunately, because the pitches are so much better now, and the pace is very, very quick, and a lot of these players have got these devices on them that can show those analysing it, how far they've run, you know, what runs they've made, and so on and so forth. Puts a lot more pressure on them, and so the fitness levels have got to be very high. So so yes, it has changed, and thankfully they do get a lot more protection. When you look at some of the clips of George Best being hacked all over the place, you think to yourself, how did he survive? How is he still walking, you know, after these matches?
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. No, and again, I'm not a big fan of being hacked over. In fact, I stopped playing football at a local kind of level, kind of in my early 30s, because I became a full-time dance teacher, and I was like, I can't afford to be hacked over by these people on a Saturday afternoon because they don't care, and then I'm out of action for 2 months, and then I've effectively lost my own job. So that's why I stopped playing. But thankfully at John of Gaunt, we don't hack each other over. Well,
No.
most of us don't anyway. But what position did you used to play then, and what kind of level did you play at?
Yes, well, I obviously enjoyed the school football. I've always played up front, actually, until I just got sadly older and older, and then I played for Bideford Town, which was Great Mills Western League, sort of semi-pro, Ishmael League now, South, I think it is. So they had a great pitch and floodlights, and it was just a short walk from where I was teaching, where I was living. So I enjoyed some good years there. I suppose also slightly embarrassed. So I played for the English public schools. I'm a Welshman, but I played for the English public schools representative side because I had a privileged education in Malvern College, and that was a good opportunity as well. But and now I just get steadily older and older, and you started playing in the midfield, and then started playing at the back and sweeper,
and slowly but surely drifting
but still
back.
enjoying it, still feeling so grateful that I have the energy and enough physicality to be able to do it.
Yeah, and you are, I play with you every week. You are a very good football player. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm turning 50 this year. You mentioned earlier you were 64, so I'm not giving that away. You've already said that live on air. How do you cope with the fact of, because I'm guessing at 64 you can't do what you did at 60 and 50 and 40. How do you kind of cope with that mentally?
Yeah, I think you've got to accept the fact that a lot of people think, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm over it. I'm over the hill now, I've had it. That's rubbish. You've just got to do it differently and play it differently, play at different standards. But you've got to, you don't play football to get fit. You get fit to play football. Yeah. And unless you want to get injured. So, in the course of your average week, make sure that you do a range of different sports that link with the one that you want to play. So, and also I would say, I think the gym I find very tedious, but I listen to podcasts when I do it, but it just keeps the joints strong and the back strong, and the things that tend to go when you get older, knees, back, hamstrings, do some stretching. So, I just, and sometimes you can't help it if you get a certain injury in your sport that's put you out of it. Your ligaments are all snapped or something like that. But by and large, if you're in reasonable shape, keep your weight down, mix it up with your sports, do what you enjoy doing, do it regularly. Don't take it too seriously.
Now, one of the things that always surprises me, throughout all of the football that I've played, is that most people have no idea how to stretch. They really don't. They literally, and I did this when I was 16. I was playing at a reasonably high level, and I'd just walk out onto the pitch and I'd start playing. I then tore my thigh muscle really, really badly, and it put me out for 18 months because I didn't come back properly because, again, I just wasn't structured, and that was really difficult. But even now, lots of people don't know how to stretch. So just very quickly, I know, you're a PE teacher. What advice would you give for stretching if you were going to do a sport?
Well, first of all, I would say do what we do, Richard. Arrive early.
Yeah.
Okay, do not arrive 2 minutes before kick-off. And then you warm your body up. So your muscles, when they're warmer, they're more elastic. Okay, less likely to snap. Give a good, thorough warm-up. And then just go through what I'm sure you've done. Students now at schools with their well-trained PE teachers are told what to do. The hamstrings, in particular, the calf muscles, the quads. I'm mentioning the muscles now. I can't really describe how you do that, but to give a full range, especially for footballers on the leg side, but also the back too. It's easy to damage your back on some of the sort of traumatic turning you have to do.
Yeah. It's a very dynamic sport, isn't it?
It
Short
is,
runs.
yeah. It's a great sport. It's a lot of fun. It's great to be able to play it later on.
Lovely. Now, we're going to have another little break, and Kieran's chosen this one. So this is Elbow, and One Day Like This.
Drinking in the morning sun, blinking in the morning sun.
It's time for the last bit. Then it's Richard Beauvoisin here right until midday today. On a story to tell, we've had Jon Williams in all day, and he's been talking about Graft for Growth. Remind us of the website, John.
Yeah, graftforgrowth.co.uk, and the 4 is the number 4.
Fabulous. And if anybody wants to do any of those trips to Transylvania, do message in on that. We're on to the quick fire round. Now, every guest gets to do this, John, and every guest gets more nervous about this part than any other part because they don't know what's coming up. So how are you feeling about this?
Well, just go over it, Richard. Let's see what happens.
Right, now everybody knows what the first one is. Those that are regular listeners, we're going to find out, John, what's your favourite ice cream?
Oh, no difficulty there. Vanilla.
Oh, you're a vanilla man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vanilla person.
Just simply vanilla.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, I don't mind vanilla. If it's a good quality vanilla, I'll go with that. There we go. Right, are you tidy or messy? I think I know the answer to this one.
I'm a bit in between. Yeah, I can be both, but
Okay.
Yeah. In between.
So what would the people around you say? Would they say you're tidy or messy?
It depends what areas. I'm not very tidy in the kitchen. My wife's always complaining about me in the kitchen.
Right.
The office is all right.
The office
bedroom's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Right. Do you love or hate roller coasters?
Oh, no, I like roller coasters, yeah.
Like roller coasters?
Yep.
Fantastic. Do you have any favourites? Do you go to theme parks often?
Not since the children have grown up, but I remember Blackpool was quite a...
Oh, yeah.
I used to go on courses in Blackpool, and I went on that roller coaster a few times, and that was the scariest one, I think.
I need to get back up there, actually. I haven't been to Blackpool for going on the roller coasters for many, many years, so I'm going to try and do Blackpool. I'm due to go up to that area in the not-too-distant future, so I might try and include it in that. Right, we're getting really serious now then, John. Do you hang your toilet roll over the top or behind the back? I told you it was serious. Highbrow.
Oh God, these are tricky.
I know.
Ethical questions. Yeah.
It gets worse.
Well, we have these toilet roll stands.
Oh,
and
do
you? And you just drop it over the onto the stand. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a vertical person.
Vertical person. Yeah.
Fair enough. You can get away with that one then. Do you eat your chocolate from the fridge or from the cupboard?
Personally, from the cupboard because it has more taste, but my wife puts it all in the fridge, so I eat it from the fridge.
I was just about to say, how do you feel about that then? So your wife chucks it in the fridge, and then you still have to eat it from there?
Well, as long as she's bought it and it's available, I'm not complaining.
You don't mind?
No, I don't mind.
We were chatting recently about the fact that actually taking it from the cupboard is the proper way to do it, apparently, because that's how chocolate is designed to melt in your hand.
Oh, right.
So that's the reason behind it. However, I'm a chocolate from the fridge person as well, I'm afraid. Have you ever tried chocolate from the freezer? Have you ever done that?
No,
so I used to do this as a kid.
Ice cream, you mean?
No, not ice cream. So I used to put a Mars bar in the freezer, Okay, and I then used to cut it up into very thin slices and then eat one of those bits each time, and it made a Mars bar last about 20 minutes. So
Okay.
that was how I kind of got around wanting to eat chocolate. So
That sounds a good idea.
there you go. Tips for the eating Mars bars from the freezer. Right, do you make your bed in the morning?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
That's a definite.
That is a definite. And follow-up question to that, as always, do you have any cushions on your bed?
Yeah, not from my choice.
Oh, is it not?
I don't get the cushion thing. You arrive in the bedroom, you throw them on the floor, and get into bed. But it looks very nice just when you arrive in the semi-dark. But there we go. Yeah.
And how many cushions do you have on your bed? So this is your wife, I'm guessing, that's enforcing the cushions.
The wife of the cushion lady. That's right. 2.
Just 2, as in 2 each, or
No, just 2 total.
Okay, so we now have 6 cushions on our bed,
Golly.
which I agree with you are pointless.
Yeah.
What is your favourite breakfast?
Well, I'm a marmalade man myself, actually.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose, yeah. On the Sunday we have croissant, and that is really nice, a buttered croissant. But the staple is buttered toast with marmalade.
And are you a white, brown, or mix and 50-50 bread?
Or healthy bread if possible. Yeah, brown.
Okay, so brown bread with butter and marmalade.
Yeah.
That's your go-to breakfast.
Yeah,
Do you know, I've not had that. So marmalade is the first one for that. Right, if you had to, and this is definitely an if you had to, what is your go-to karaoke song? Always thinking now.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, that's a tricky one. How about Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh, okay, that's a tricky one to sing.
Yeah, no, I know it is. I'm hoping I'd have some backup.
Yeah, you can't sing that by yourself.
No.
Okay, so if you had to sing one bit of it, which bit would you sing then?
Maybe I could, not bad on the higher notes, maybe.
Okay, so Galileo time.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe that one, yes.
And how would that sound?
Terrible.
So you're not going to give us a rendition now then?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think yeah.
I'd love to see if you could do that. Right, favourite TV programme or film?
Favourite... Okay, I tell you what, I watched One Life recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was that on?
Yeah, it's on the in Picture House, the little theatre.
Oh, right.
And that was stunning. But about Winston, the guy who rescued so many people from the Holocaust, some of the children.
Okay, I've not heard of it.
The kinder train. So, but anyway, I think my favourite film ever.
Always a tough one, I know.
Yeah, always a tough one. Yeah, I think Schindler's List.
A great film. Yeah, why?
It was just so moving, and it was just so enthralling, done so well, and just I so the subject matter was just it was horrendous, but do you know what I mean? It was just a tremendous portrayal of what actually happened. So you were there,
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic film. I haven't watched it for many, many years, actually. I must have a watch of it again when I've got a spare 6 hours, because it's quite a long film, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a long film.
Not 6 hours, but
give you a headache watching it. It's quite traumatic.
It is, yeah. Probably not the film for Friday night with beers or anything.
Okay, no. If I was a nice light film, Eat Where Eagles Dare. I always love that one.
What a lovely film that is. Right, if you came back in your next life as an animal, which one would you be and why?
Okay, well, I have a friend called Bruce who's South African, and I think I would go with what he says. I think if I had to come back again, I would come back as an English dog. Because they get treated so well.
An English dog?
An English dog, yes.
Okay.
But then you see people putting them in prams and walking them around, don't you, and dressing them up and things like that,
I'll be honest, I don't actually know what an English dog is.
Well, no, I don't. When I say an English dog, I just mean a dog that's owned by someone in England.
I was very quickly typing in an English dog and hoping some breed would come up.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, English sheepdog. Actually, we had an English sheepdog, but and we treated that pretty well. Go running with it and looking after it, and give it a nice bed and so on and so forth. So yeah, they get a good life.
They do indeed. And your last question, John, and thank you for coming in today. Where is your happy place?
Where
came to your mind right then?
Yeah, I do like it. I've got a small but a nice office, and I look out onto a woodland and with bird life everywhere. And I have a pair of binoculars by the side of my computer, which I pick up far too often. And it's peaceful. I don't have the radio going. I just have it silence, and as I work quietly away.
That sounds like a lovely place to be. So in your own home, watching the birds in the woodland, or sitting in a peaceful place.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fabulous place to be. John, remind us of the website again for if people want to go out to Transylvania.
Okay, so, the launch night, Thursday, 1st of Feb, 7:30 at the Old Dairy, and you can find the details on Graph for Growth. That's graph with 4 with a number, 4, not the word, graphforgrowth.co.uk.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming into Radio Bath
Well, thank
today.
you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
That's okay. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have. Yes, it's been good fun.
Fabulous. And we'll see you very soon. I'll see you at football on Friday.
Yeah, certainly.